I tell people all the time that if you had no preconception of what to do at death, none at all, and I approached you and a funeral home approached you and a crematory approached you, we'd get everybody's business because there's no reason to do anything else. This is all common sense. We were designed to go back to the earth. If you believe the Bible, you know that's the case. There's just no purpose in doing any of that other stuff. You're burying money and you're harming the environment in the process. We do natural burial, meaning we do what we did for tens of thousands or years or longer. We don't believe in embalming. We don't believe in vaults. Caskets are optional. We're 8 by 10 plots, so they're 4 times bigger than a other cemetery you'd see because we don't want to harm the environment. So by being so much larger, we don't damage the trees and all in our process. I don't think it's so much that people see it as a green philosophy as much as they just see it as a common sense philosophy. I think a lot of people feel that the trend has been they've been pushed to no alternative except very expensive funerals. So we just help support the family's decision and not try to sell them or alter their mind. And if you haven't thought about it in the past, I can see where it can be a little tricky to ponder that. When we grew up doing fancy caskets, doing the viewings, doing all this other stuff, you know, in my lifetime, that's all we've ever known. But from lifetimes before to the beginning of time, this is all we ever did. You got buried. Every other animal on this planet gets buried or just goes back to the earth one way or the other, and there's no reason for us to do anything different. We're being preyed upon. The idea of perpetual care cannot happen. You cannot guarantee for perpetuity someone is going to manage land. I believe you can set it aside as a natural area, and that's what I guarantee. And God will be in charge of maintenance. 10 years ago, I saw an accident. 3 people were killed in the vehicle in front of me when a truck came through. And it was a surreal moment that I realized that you don't have to be 90 and terminal. And so my wife stayed home raising the kids, and I was affiliated with a lot of businesses and things. And if I would have died suddenly, she would have been in a mess. So I started putting together my death file, I called it, all our insurance policies, notes, just anything that would make it easier if something happened. And in that process, the last step was arrange funeral arrangements. So I knew I had those plots, but there was still almost $4,000 of fees after the plots were already paid for, of vaults and bronze markers and all the stuff they were requiring. And it just always made sense to me to just be buried. I want people to know that they're not going to pass if they talk about it. If you just take a minute to let family members know what you want done, so there's not a fight at that time, and that you've set the money aside to do it. And I think that's what every person breathing owes the rest of their family, is that document and that money. And if you love your family, you'll make your plans. $800 is the cemetery cost. So typically we do anything from the family brings the body, you're $800, to transport companies get involved. It's usually around $200, basic wood box $300, so generally $1,300, $1,000, $1,300. We do more and more without a casket. There's no right or wrong way to do a funeral. It depends on your emotional needs, it depends on your financial needs, and we take great pride in trying to encourage people to do what's in the family's best interest. Once they've been out here for a service, I mean, you can see you don't hear the traffic, it's very peaceful. There's just no reason not to do this. I just happen to be really cheap. I think one of my favorite stories was meeting a man that had a $10,000 life insurance policy, and he basically found out he couldn't get buried for that price in other cemeteries and funeral homes and all. And when he left here, he had his $1,300 plan, and his family was able to take an $8,700 vacation. He went from crying that he couldn't afford, that he was going to leave them debt, to he could die and give them the trip of their lifetime. This makes sense. It's financially better, it's environmentally better. There's just no reason not to be naturally buried. The only thing that makes more sense is to be buried on your land. I tell people that all the time. If you can be buried on your land, do it. If you can't, be buried on mine. And I really almost regret the term green burial. I wish I'd have gone with something maybe like natural burial, because again, it's just common sense that we aren't immortal. We are going to go back to this earth, and I don't care what you spend on a vault and embalming and caskets, there will be a day that all of that's going to collapse and decompose too, and I'm just a whole lot faster.